Presenting Refugee Platform by Jaye. Let's start with a broad context for this business model. The key trends contributing are the Syrian war, which began in 2011 and has caused 4 million people to flee from Syria to other countries. This has led to economic pressure on those countries, such as Jordan, Lebanon, Europe, and Canada, and as a result, Australia has agreed to take 12,000. The challenge for Australia now lies in how best to economically and socially integrate these people into the Australian context and how to enable them to become productive members of Australian society.
So this is the value proposition canvas, and we're going to be looking at it for the refugees as a customer segment. So the refugees have high levels of trauma and social isolation due to how they've come to Australia and due to their lack of understanding of the Australian context, financially, socially, and economically. And this really leads to a lack of agency and a lack of employment. And this is compounded by a lack of knowledge of the English language. The kind of gains that they're looking for, really stability is the main one, especially in terms of accommodation, schooling, and housing and employment. And they're looking for that to be in their own language in a way that is easy and accessible to access. So really, the customer jobs they're looking to be done is to connect to services, information, and their community. So really, the product or service that we're offering is an online platform which provides information, connections to local community, to businesses, and to non-for-profits for the refugees as the customer segment. And what this online platform will do is it will provide links to counselling, links to community groups, which will really help combat this idea of trauma and social isolation. It will also provide links to financial and legal support in the Australian community, which will help them gain a better understanding of the Australian context. It will then also provide a chance to practice English through conversation groups, things like that, which will really combat this idea here of this lack of English. And it will also, in doing all of this, provide links to jobs and increase agency, which comes here. So overall, the gain creation is the increased agency and connection in the Australian community, which will be the app will be in Arabic, so through this language, this problem here, or this gain enhancer here, and it will be done in a way which is easy to use and accessible. Our refugee platform plans to help refugees as well as service providers such as the government, business, and other non-for-profits to improve the refugee settlement experience by decreasing disconnection in the industry and fragmentation in the industry, and by increasing the autonomy of the refugees themselves. And it hopes to do this to be unlike the current system. So we wanted to test our app as it was so far. So we decided to do it over a period of about 3 weeks or so, and we thought that we originally believed the hypothesis was that refugees are looking for better methods to connect to service providers. So we thought to verify that, we would both interview the key stakeholders, so the government, the refugees themselves, the different non-for-profits, and build a minimal viable product app which we could launch online, and then we could measure, using these two tools, the amount of and the kinds of positive responses we were getting from the interview, and how many clips and how much usage that minimal viable product was getting online. And we thought if the stakeholders responded positively in the interviews, and the refugees were contacting the service providers through the minimal viable product for help, then we would be correct. So the customer segments which the refugee platform is trying to address or trying to help is the refugees themselves, as well as the service providers, so the NGOs, government and business, which makes this a multi-sided or double-sided business platform. The value propositions for the refugees is to give them greater autonomy, choice and agency to the new arrivals themselves, and for the service providers to increase connection in the industry and decrease fragmentation. The way this will be occurring is through the platform, so both customer segments are both using the same platform, And the customer relationships for both segments are going to be a mixture of automated services for the mass market, and as time progresses, increasing co-creation in communities to increase empowerment to both customer segments. So the funding for this model will be through government funding. And the key partners, now the key partners is really important here because we've got the pro bono IT company, so there's going to be the ones helping us to put this app together, and as well as the service providers and the NGOs, the businesses and government. And they're really important because without these key partners, this kind of relationships here isn't going to work. They're very crucial to the multi-sided business model. And that links us to the key activities, which in this case is the maintenance and building of the app, the engagement with the customers in the community, and building awareness and the reputation of the app, so it really is credible. And this is going to be done through the key resources, which is the platform, the staff, and the wider organisation of the Salvation Army. And the costs in this model are staff, IT costs, and advertising. So this is the SWOT canvas, which is going to be used to kind of give a conclusion and a summary to the refugee platform. And the strengths of the refugee platform primarily lie in its very strong value proposition, in that the pains and gains are very much met by the pain relievers and the gain enhancers. And it's very much a response to a global and relevant need. But the weaknesses of the model are that it has a huge reliance on key partners and on the collaboration of those key partners in the industry, which is currently really lacking. And also that it's expensive to build and maintain, and that's a big deal considering it's a non-for-profit industry. But the opportunities of the model are that there's a huge amount of ability to really expand it to different services, to be able to link it into Google Maps, to be able to link it in to ratings and things like that. And in doing so, there's really an ability to expand it to other refugee populations, such as the Tamil people. But the threats are that it's easy to replicate, and in that being easy to replicate, it's easy to become irrelevant and for someone else to create something which really meets that need better than this does.
Thank you for watching my presentation. I hope you found the business proposal interesting and agree that it meets an important social and market need.